After his death, I found an unsent confession text in his old phone. "I like you too." The recipient was me. This was the 15th year of my secret crush on him. Yet before this, his last message to me had been, "I'm getting married. Stop bothering me." The old house in our hometown was being demolished, so I rushed back to pack up our belongings. Before leaving, something made me turn back and push open the door next door. The small yard was overgrown with moss, completely run down, with several broken windows. But in the desk drawer, there was a phone. An old model from years ago, nowhere to be found in stores anymore. The yellowed clear case still had pink stickers I had put on myself, popular anime characters from back then. This was the phone Ethan Carter used to own. Realizing this, my heartbeat uncontrollably accelerated. But the phone was so old it took half the night to charge before it would turn on. The system, not updated in years, was impossibly slow. I casually opened the draft messages, and a completed text suddenly jumped into view. "I like you too." The preset recipient number was the one I used 5 years ago. I stood frozen in place. 5 years ago when I left, after yet another rejected confession, he had clearly said, "I really don't like you. Stop clinging to me." I met Ethan Carter when I had just started middle school. After my parents' divorce, my mom moved us back to our small hometown. He lived right next door to us. In July, my brother came for summer vacation and somehow became best friends with Ethan. Before school started, he asked Ethan to look after me. My sister's great in every way, just too stubborn and inflexible. Next time she fights with Mom, try to stop her. I was 14 that year, at my most rebellious teenage phase, and wasn't close to my brother. By extension, I didn't like his friend Ethan either. One night, I got into another fight with my mom. She grabbed me by the back of the neck and pushed me out the door. "Since you're so capable, don't eat my food or drink what I provide. You think I want to raise you?" Bang, the door slammed shut behind me. I looked up at the sparse stars in the night sky. The next second, I heard Ethan's voice, "Haven't eaten dinner yet? Let me take you for a late-night snack." He led me through winding alleys to a small dumpling stand at the east end of town. 2 servings of small dumplings with a ladle of hot meat filling. I held the white porcelain spoon, blowing on the steam, eating in silence. Ethan sat across from me, smiling somewhat helplessly. "I don't think I've done anything to offend you. Your brother and I get along pretty well." "He's not my brother." My tone was so harsh that Ethan immediately understood, taking it out on me. Huh. I put a few bills on the small table and turned to leave. He followed unhurriedly behind me, occasionally trying to make conversation. When I didn't respond, he didn't get discouraged. Until we reached the alley entrance, he sighed, "No matter what, your mom raising you alone is also very difficult." I suddenly stopped and turned around. "She doesn't want to raise me. She lost the custody battle for her son to her ex-husband, so she had no choice but to bring me, the unwanted burden." Ethan froze in place. I got more agitated as I spoke. "You and Nathan are good friends, and your parents love you most. Of course, you wouldn't understand me. That's not true." He suddenly spoke softly. "I don't have a mother." Nothing could move a rebellious teenage girl more than shared understanding. After that night, my relationship with Ethan warmed up somewhat. I had just transferred schools then, and because of my non-local accent, I inexplicably became the target of class bullying. When I fought back, their bullying behavior escalated. Then Ethan appeared. He was over 2 years older than me, tall, with smooth muscle lines on his forearms. His punches quickly reversed my disadvantage. Several male classmates who had cornered me for money were beaten black and blue. Ethan grabbed my wrist and led me running all the way to the school gate. A bicycle was parked there. "Let's go, there's a new bookstore." I sat on the front bar, encircled by Ethan's arms, accompanied by the ringing bicycle bell, swaying forward down the road. Through 2 thin layers of clothing, my protruding shoulder blades pressed against his accelerating heartbeat. Looking back, that was probably the beginning of my 15-year secret crush on Ethan Carter. But no matter how many times I hinted or directly expressed my feelings, Ethan's answer was always, "But Zoe, I really don't like you." He would smile helplessly, reaching out to ruffle my hair. "You're Nathan's sister." "Of course, I see you as a sister too." At 2 a.m., my brother called me. "Did you make it to the old house?" I fiddled with Ethan's old phone, suppressing the turbulent emotions in my heart, trying to sound calm. "Nothing much, just noticed the neighbors' windows are all broken." "Aren't you and Ethan good friends?" "Tell him to go back and check sometime." On the other end, my brother suddenly fell silent. Wanting to hide my feelings, I clumsily added no other meaning. Since he's married now, it would be inappropriate for me to contact him. For a long time. My brother finally spoke, his voice gentle yet heavy. "Zoe, Ethan isn't married. 5 years ago, in winter, near New Year's, the police contacted me with news of his death." After my brother said those words, the air seemed to stop flowing. Like an invisible hand gripping my heart tightly, intense suffocation left my mind blank. It took a long time before I found my voice again. "What are you saying, Nathan? Now you'll make up lies like this just to make me give up." I almost hysterically scolded him in panic. But my brother just sighed softly. "I originally planned to keep this from you forever, because Ethan's dying wish was not to let you know about this. But Zoe, you're almost 30. When will you be able to live normally?" I took 2 sharp breaths and quickly made up my mind. "I'm coming to see you now. Let's talk face to face." When I left, I put Ethan's phone in my bag. The old sticker edges were slightly curled. I repeatedly pressed them down with my fingertip, but they just curled up worse. The driver observed me carefully in the rearview mirror for a while, then couldn't help but advise, "Miss, whatever it is can be talked out. Don't be impulsive. It's not safe for you to go to the train station in the middle of the night." I reached up and touched my face, only then realizing it was already covered in tears. The first time I confessed to Ethan was the year I graduated high school. After choosing liberal arts in sophomore year, my grades suffered. My request for tutoring was rejected by my mom. She was cooking in the kitchen, her tone indifferent. "Your brother didn't need to spend this kind of money these past 2 years. If you don't listen in class, what can you learn outside? Nathan didn't need it, but I do. Is that not okay? That's how you address your brother by his full name." She looked at me sideways, her tone contemptuous and annoyed. No wonder people always say having a daughter isn't as good as having a son. Grown this big and still doesn't understand basic manners. I turned and left. That night before bed, she came to tell me she had spoken too harshly during the day and asked me not to be angry. She gave me some thin bills, telling me to find a teacher for a few tutoring sessions to see how it went. I stubbornly refused to take it. My brother soon heard about this. He transferred me $3,000, telling me to ask around and find a teacher to tutor me in physics. I was surprised. "Where did you get the money?" "From your dad?" He answered vaguely, "Kids shouldn't ask so many questions. Take it and go get tutoring." I never felt guilty about taking my brother's money. When the money ran out 2 months later, he transferred more. During summer vacation, he and Ethan came to visit again. I overheard my brother ask Ethan, "Are you really not going to tell Zoe that most of that money came from your part-time jobs?" In the quiet moonlight, Ethan smiled gently. "Didn't you also contribute $1,000? Zoe is your sister. I'm not being as good a brother as you are." My brother nudged him with his elbow. "Be honest, do you have feelings for Zoe?" Ethan just smiled without speaking. Behind the wall, I quietly pulled my head back, but my heartbeat couldn't help but quicken. During his college entrance exams, Ethan scored first in the entire county. He could have gone to schools in New York or California, but he chose to stay in state. Harboring unrealistic teenage fantasies, I always felt that maybe this choice contained some reluctance to leave me. So after my SATs, when he and my brother were waiting for me outside the exam room, I found a clumsy excuse to send my brother away and asked him, "You care about me so much, do you like me?" 0. 6. At 18, I didn't know about girlish subtlety and restraint. I just stared straight into Ethan's eyes, urgently waiting for an answer. But Ethan laughed, "Of course not. We've been neighbors for years, and your brother and I are good friends. I'm just looking out for you a bit more." I refused to believe it, but my brother came back, clamoring to take me out to dinner to celebrate. When my SAT scores came out, I really wasn't good at physics. Despite 2 years of tutoring, it still dragged down my science scores. I ended up at the university next to Ethan's. When I started as a freshman, he and my brother were already juniors with summer internships, so they started school early. They said they had scouted out my school in advance, where to register, where the cafeteria and dorms were. They knew it all. But when they came to meet me at the station, only Ethan showed up. "Your brother's dating someone." He went to the airport to pick up his girlfriend to score points. He took my suitcase. Before leaving, he specifically told me to ensure your personal safety. I looked down. "What about you?" "What about me?" "Nathan's dating now. Aren't you going to date anyone?" I looked up, meeting his gaze full of helpless yet gentle amusement. "Stop testing me, Zoe. I won't be with you." Only Ethan could say rejections so gently yet firmly. And only Ethan would call me the next day after rejecting me, asking me to come downstairs to receive the latest model phone. A reward for getting into college. I took it, still persistently asking, "In what capacity are you giving me such an expensive reward?" I leaned my face close, staring at him unblinkingly. Ethan couldn't handle it and stepped back, supporting my body as I nearly fell forward, as your brother's friend. Is that enough? In all the years that followed, I never saw any other girls around Ethan. Besides my brother, he didn't seem to have any other close friends either. He was always very, very good to me. When I was bullied, he would stand up for me. When my mom cut off my living expenses, he would give me money every few days. During sophomore finals, I was falsely accused of cheating by a male student sitting behind me who threw me a note. The department wanted to handle it severely, but my brother happened to have an exam that afternoon. In the end, it was Ethan who came. He was always gentle and tolerant with me, never speaking harshly, even when rejecting my confessions. That was the first time I saw him show his sharp edges. The boy's originally tall frame had gradually grown into an adult silhouette. He stood in front of me, his voice cutting. "My sister would never do such a thing." "The exam room surveillance is broken?" How convenient just that exam room surveillance is broken. Perfect. Enlarge the outdoor public surveillance footage to maximum. It should be able to capture it, right? We'll report this to police and check the public surveillance. Under pressure, the department finally apologized to me, saying the male student was a relative of an associate professor. Because my overall score ranked exactly one place ahead of his, and he needed to apply to study abroad, requiring that outstanding student quota. In front of the department, teachers that male student reluctantly apologized to me. The department also, under Ethan's insistence, signed a guarantee with me that as long as I completed my courses and exams successfully, earning full credits, they wouldn't make things difficult for my graduation. When we left the office, it was 5 p.m. The phone in my pocket vibrated, probably my brother calling. I stared at Ethan's straight spine, my heartbeat getting faster and faster. "Why did you come so quickly when you heard it was about me?" He stopped and turned back, giving me the answer I'd heard countless times. "You're Nathan's sister, and Nathan is my friend." Later, I joined student government. Once, while walking with the president carrying materials, he suddenly stopped and said there was a leaf on my head. Don't move. I'll get it for you. I looked up and met Ethan walking toward us. Our eyes met. He seemed to freeze, then was about to leave. My heart tightened, and I called out, "Ethan." He lowered his eyelashes. When he looked at me again, his expression carried restrained politeness and distance. "Zoe Parker, I have something to do. I'll go first." Watching his retreating figure, I belatedly realized this seemed to be the first time in all these years that he'd called me by my full name. That evening, my brother texted asking if I was dating someone. "Did Ethan tell you that?" My brother didn't deny it. As long as your boyfriend is a decent person, dating is good. "You and Ethan really aren't suitable." "Why?" In that instant, countless guesses flashed through my mind, including ridiculous ones. Does he have a terminal illness and is dying, so he doesn't want to burden me? Or is he carrying some undercover mission and can't burden me? My brother gave a bitter laugh. "Zoe, don't be so harsh." I was silent for a moment, gradually calming down, and said softly, "I'm sorry. In a few months, Ethan and I will graduate. You should go live your life, Zoe." When summer came, my brother and Ethan graduated. I went to the flower shop and bought 2 bouquets, sunflowers, for my brother. For Ethan, I bought white roses. I watched him walk onto the stage in his graduation gown, receive his diploma, bow slightly, waiting for the dean's tassel ceremony. I suddenly lowered my head, tears dropping onto the white rose bouquet in my hands. Ethan didn't accept my flowers. As if determined to crush my hopes, he wouldn't even let me join them for the graduation dinner. But I secretly followed anyway. Later, I got myself drunk and stumbled into Ethan's arms. He supported my swaying body and sighed, "Doesn't your stomach hurt from drinking so much? Go back and drink some honey water. I'll take you back to school." I knew he rented a small apartment in the suburbs near his company, so I obediently let him hold my hand and walk forward. But when we reached the residential complex entrance, Ethan suddenly jerked his hand away from mine. He looked back at me with an almost cruel expression. "Zoe, you're a girl. You should know shame. Getting yourself drunk and running to throw yourself at someone who doesn't like you, it's really embarrassing." I stared at him blankly, my alcohol-clouded mind sluggish. It took me a long time to find my voice. "What did you say?" He paused, then reached out and forcefully pushed me to the ground. "I said you're so clingy. I really regret it. That night when your mom kicked you out, I shouldn't have talked to you." Caught off guard by the push, I fell to the ground, scraping my palms on the pavement, with small pieces of gravel pressing into the wounds. But Ethan walked away without looking back. In the end, it was my brother who came to take me home. He disinfected my wounds and kept sighing in front of me. "Zoe, just give up on Ethan, okay? I heard about it too. Someone at your school is pursuing you. You're such a pretty girl. Why must it be him?" I nodded sluggishly. I won't like him anymore. For the next year and a half, I never contacted Ethan again. He was a man of few words, his social media always blank, while I was always expressive, posting over 10 updates in 3 days. Ethan never liked my posts. I thought he didn't look. Until once, when a boy from the neighboring class asked me to see a movie, I photographed 2 movie tickets and posted them. That night, Ethan liked my post. He commented with a goodnight moon emoji. When I looked again, he had already deleted it. With something close to hateful agitation, I private messaged him, "I'm dating someone." Ethan replied, "I saw. My boyfriend is very handsome and studies well. I plan to continue graduate studies with him after graduation." That's great. Like punching cotton, I threw down my phone and buried my face in my pillow, swallowed by an almost suffocating sense of powerlessness. I had lied. I wasn't dating that boy. After the movie, he stood downstairs at my dorm, calculating costs. "Zoe, I believe in gender equality. Neither of us is pursuing the other. The movie tickets and drinks totaled $30. Just transfer me $15. There was no second Ethan Carter in the world who would transfer his part-time earnings to the neighbor girl, just so she could get physics tutoring. No expectation of return, not wanting her to know. But no matter what, he wouldn't be with her. The year I graduated college, when winter came, my mom passed away. Before dying, she lay in the hospital bed. After your dad remarried last year, he had a little son with that woman. How pitiful Nathan is. I don't love him, and he can't even afford to marry. She grabbed me with hands like dry tree bark, forcing me to swear not to compete with my brother for the inheritance. My gold jewelry will be your dowry. The savings and old house go to Nathan. Zoe, don't resent me. When I gave birth to you, I always thought you'd be another son. She stopped breathing in front of me, her hand falling powerlessly. Looking at her gray, defeated face, I suddenly shed tears. I know. Zoe Parker was the name she had chosen, full of hope for her little son. Later used for me reluctantly and resentfully. My mom always harbored resentment, feeling that if I had also been a boy, she and my dad wouldn't have divorced. And she wouldn't have had to move back to her hometown with me. My mom's funeral wasn't elaborate. At the service, I saw Ethan, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. I had just fought with my brother then. He insisted on splitting the old house and savings with me half and half. I cried and shouted, "Who wants her stuff? From childhood, she and your dad only loved you. What's the point of you playing the good guy in front of me? Go tell them to love me a little too." My brother said with red-rimmed eyes, "I'm sorry." But this ultimately wasn't his fault either. I walked out in despair and irritation, running right into Ethan at the hospital entrance. He had lost a lot of weight, making him look even taller, but more fragile, carrying the dusty aura of a long journey. He supported my nearly falling body, softly calling my name, Zoe. I was circled in his arms, shaking while crying without restraint. Since they had me, why couldn't they love me? Nathan is her most proud son, raised so excellently that everyone likes him. I'm twisted and awful, so no one liking me is who says no one likes you. Ethan suddenly cut off my words. At least He didn't finish the rest. But those 3 words alone made the emotions I deliberately buried for 2 years come flooding back. In that moment, I realized my obsessiveness extended to loving him. I seemed like I would never, ever be able to give up on Ethan Carter. Looking back, the following 6 months were the happiest time of my life. Ethan was back. Under his persuasion, my brother and I had a talk. I can't control our parents' thoughts and feelings. I can only try to compensate you as much as possible. My brother signed papers transferring the old house entirely to me. I didn't want it. In fact, I never wanted the house or money. I wanted love, fairness, equal treatment, but never got it, even until her death. Fortunately, Ethan no longer refused my closeness like before. I had transferred to graduate school at their university. Between busy studies, I would meet with Ethan. His previous repeated rejections had made me cautious, no longer daring to confess so boldly. I didn't say anything, and he didn't speak up either. We just got along unhurriedly like this. Ethan got a bonus and used the money to buy matching phones in different colors, giving me the light purple one. "Your old one is getting worn out, right? 0.6. I accepted it, then bought a bunch of phone cases. After picking through them for ages, Ethan would only use a clear, soft case. So I bought stickers of anime characters he'd been watching recently and stuck them on. Perfect. This character is named Zoe, and I'm also Zoe. I examined the garishly decorated phone case with satisfaction, nodding and tossing the phone back to Ethan. He wasn't annoyed, just looked at me with an indulgent smile. Actually, I always hated my name. In elementary school, all the girls in class had names like Grace or Snow. Because my name was too gender neutral, teachers always mistook me for a boy. Plus, whenever my parents called me, they always looked reluctant, so I really wanted to change my name. It was late at night. Ethan and I sat by the bridge, watching the river flow beneath it. But now, thinking that your favorite character is also named Zoe, I'm suddenly glad I never changed it. The night was dark and quiet, with only a dim street lamp in the distance. When I turned my head, I saw Ethan's slightly reddened ear tips. What childish talk. Children wouldn't say such things. I deliberately leaned close to his ear, smiling as I said, "A mature adult would tell you, Ethan Carter, I think your name sounds beautiful. I wonder how it was chosen." He froze, then after a long while said, "My mother chose it before she died. I'll tell you the details when there's a chance later." But I never got to wait for later. A month later, my first academic paper was successfully published. I went to find Ethan to drink and celebrate, accidentally drinking too much. Walking out of the restaurant, passing through an empty dark alley, I suddenly pulled him in, pressed him against the wall, and looked up to kiss him. Unfortunately, being drunk, I fumbled around without getting it right. I was almost crying from frustration. Ethan then cupped my chin, sighed, and kissed me. Very gentle, and very pure and brief. But it had me grinning foolishly all the way back to the dorm. The next day after waking up, I steadied myself before going to find Ethan. But after sending several messages, he didn't reply. It wasn't until evening that he called. "Let's meet, Zoe." His voice cold to the point of being strange. I waited outside the school for a long, long time before I saw Ethan. And his first words were, "I've had enough fun, Zoe." I stood frozen in place, unable to react for a long time. To tell you the truth, these past 2 years I was sent to New York on business by headquarters, and I already have a steady relationship there. Coming back this time was mainly because I found it somewhat fresh. After all, you've liked me for so many years. Ethan was very tall. When he stood straight looking at me, it was almost a condescending gaze. "But you're really too boring. You easily make me feel sick of it. Now my girlfriend is calling me back, so we should end this too." His clear eyes reflected my tear-stained face, but Ethan was actually smiling. "Look at you. How ugly you look when crying. Your kissing skills are terrible too. Someone who could be so obsessed for years over a little high school kindness, you're really the cheapest woman I've ever met. Oh, and don't think about getting revenge on me. I never agreed to your confessions. And stop pestering me. I'm getting married." After saying this, he turned and left. I stood rigidly in place, unable to move for a long time. As if shot by a bullet through the heart, with sharp blades cutting along the bullet hole inch by inch. Intense pain like a tide swallowed me. I raised my hand, my fingertip touching my lips, as if the warmth Ethan left there last night still remained. I suddenly pressed hard, increasing the pressure bit by bit, not stopping even when I tasted blood. I wanted to erase the traces he left, along with so many years of memories. Coming back to the present from memory, the train had already stopped at the platform. After college graduation, my brother had his own family and moved to his wife's city with her. I was no longer the rebellious teenager I once was. Because of our parents' favoritism, I no longer took my anger out on my brother. Our relationship had improved considerably. He waited for me at the exit with a jacket draped over his arm. "Your sister-in-law said it gets cold in the middle of the night, and you're probably too distracted to remember to bring extra clothes." I blinked, but couldn't see his face clearly no matter what, then realized I was crying. All these years, everyone's life had moved forward. I had also successfully graduated with my master's, stayed at the university to teach, and my life looked no different from ordinary people. Only I knew that I still thought about Ethan Carter. My brother put the jacket on me and was about to drive me home. I said quietly, "Let's just find a hotel." Everyone's asleep at home, no need to disturb them. Under the bright hotel room lights that enveloped him completely, I heard my brother ask, "Do you know about Ethan's family situation?" I held my cup, slowly shaking my head, then nodding. He told me his mother died very early. What about his father? I froze suddenly, trying to find fragments about Ethan's father from countless memories. But no matter how hard I thought, I could only vaguely remember a thin, tall man with somewhat gloomy eyes and a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. Once, when he saw Ethan and me walking home from school together, he smiled and asked Ethan, "Girlfriend?" Ethan said coldly, "Classmate." Coming back to myself, I licked my lips, my voice somewhat hoarse. But back then, I didn't get along with Mom either. I thought he was like me, going through teenage rebellion, liking to oppose his family. It wasn't the same. My brother sighed and asked me, "Zoe, do you know how Ethan died?" Nathan. His father forced him to participate in human drug experiments to make money. He simply stayed there, cooperating with an undercover police officer. At the crucial moment, he took the undercover's place and was tortured to death by those people. That afternoon, Ryan went crazy again. After drinking half a bottle of whiskey, he suddenly grabbed the ashtray from the table and hurled it at Ethan, cursing, "Just like that ungrateful bitch, your mother. I provide for you both, and I don't even get a kind look. Acting so high and mighty, go strip naked and walk down the street? Let's see what you're worth." Ethan dodged by tilting his head. He gave Ryan a cold glance and went to his room. Ryan was his biological father, though Ethan didn't want to acknowledge this fact. This man was insane. He had an intensely crazy possessiveness toward Ethan's mother. When things were good, he'd want to pluck stars from the sky for her. Once he drank or lost money gambling, he'd become like a wild beast, smashing things at home. When Ethan was 3, his mother passed away. Ryan gambled away what little savings they had and was even detained twice. The factory wouldn't hire him anymore. With no choice, he brought Ethan back to their hometown. The local cost of living was low. A few $100s a month in assistance was enough to survive. In others' eyes, Ryan simply didn't come home often. No one knew how extreme he was with those close to him. He even warned Ethan, "Your mother is dead. Now it's just you and me. Don't think you can escape me in this lifetime. Don't even think about dating, marriage, or having children. Otherwise, nobody will have a good life." Ethan looked at him with disgust. Beast. Ryan wasn't angry, laughing as he guzzled from the glass bottle, "Then you're my son, which makes you a little beast." Ethan was gentle and polite, but also ruthless and cold. That afternoon after school, he learned that the long empty house next door had new neighbors. He didn't pay attention and had very little contact with Zoe Parker. Until summer vacation, when Ryan happened to be away that afternoon. Ethan was watering the grapevines in the small yard. A face suddenly peeked out from behind the half-closed door, smiling, "Hello, I'm Nathan, the brother of your neighbor Zoe Parker. I wanted to ask about how my sister gets along with my mom. Neither of them will tell me the truth." That's how he became friends with Nathan. This was also the only close friend in Ethan's short life. Initially approaching Zoe was purely because of her brother's request. Until that night when they sat at the low table at the dumpling stand, the little girl still holding her breath, refusing to talk to Ethan, just eating with her head down. The quiet moonlight fell on her sulky face, momentarily making Ethan find her adorable. Undeniably, Nathan was a good brother, but he had indeed received too much from their parents, things Zoe could never get. In that moment, he strangely empathized with her. On the way back, watching her expression almost swallowed by grievance, he inexplicably said those words. "I don't have a mother. So no one loves me either." Smart as Ethan was, he naturally knew this would make her put him in her own camp. But everything that followed completely exceeded his control. Zoe had a pair of very spirited eyes that turned up slightly at the corners. When angry, they'd widen like a little hedgehog's. She never knew how to endure silently. If someone bullied her, of course, she had to fight back immediately. Even if I can't win, I have to fight, or they'll think I'm easy to bully. Later, on their way home together, Zoe looked experienced as she said, like when we were little fighting over toys and snacks. Even though I knew I couldn't beat my brother, I still had to compete with him. So our parents couldn't make excuses saying, "You didn't want it yourself." If I'm not happy, nobody should be happy. That was just like her stubbornly and persistently believing in principles she'd figured out herself, and possessing countless times more patience and perseverance than ordinary people. So later, no matter how many times Ethan rejected her confessions, she refused to give up. Ethan really liked her, but couldn't agree to be with her. Ryan lurked like a poisonous snake in the shadows, never knowing when he'd suddenly strike, taking the money Ethan earned from part-time jobs to gamble, or warning him not to date, not to give to others. He had already mentioned Zoe twice in front of Ethan, like some kind of coercion and warning. Nathan knew about his family situation. The two thought for a long time but couldn't come up with a good solution. Ryan was just a street thug and scoundrel. Normal people couldn't deal with him. The only solution was to stay away. But they were bound by an unbreakable blood relationship. Finally, Nathan sighed, "Stay away from Zoe. I don't want my sister to get hurt." Ethan lowered his eyes and quietly said, "Okay." He tried to avoid all contact with Zoe, and they had a tacit understanding not to tell her the truth. With her personality, if she knew, she'd immediately declare war on Ryan, or simply call the police. But Ryan was that kind of person. As long as he wasn't dead, he'd never let go. At the graduation ceremony, he didn't accept her flowers and wouldn't let her come to the farewell dinner. Watching her dim, lightless eyes, Ethan's heart was almost swallowed by surging pain and helplessness. Nathan was next to him talking to his girlfriend, helping her redo her crooked ponytail. Such a simple, intimate gesture represented a distance they could never, ever reach. But Ethan still softened. When the little girl got herself drunk and stumbled into his arms, he seemed to hear his heartbeat echoing in his ears. Each beat urgent, like drum beats. He said softly, "Doesn't your stomach hurt from drinking so much? Go back and drink some honey water. I'll take you back to school." She hummed agreement, obediently extending her hand for him to hold as they walked home. In the hot, humid summer night of June, the night breeze carried unknown light floral scents. Her hand was held in his palm, soft and dry. Zoe was like a hedgehog, appearing covered in sharp spikes, so prickly she seemed to want to fight the whole world. But if you just tossed her 2 small fruits, she'd shyly curl into a ball, showing you her soft belly. Ethan thought that actually, he wasn't as good as she imagined. What he gave her wasn't hard-won through great difficulties. It was just that she had received so little from the parents who should have been her harbor, making what he gave seem especially precious. "Ethan!" She suddenly spoke, her voice muffled with a hint of drunkenness. "Let's try being together, okay? I don't believe you don't like me." His heart racing, Ethan almost couldn't resist agreeing. But before reaching the door, he suddenly saw that figure standing in the shadows under a distant streetlight in the complex. Ryan grinned at him and silently mouthed, "Girlfriend?" He felt like falling into an ice cave, as if awakening from a dream. Then he said those things to Zoe that made him sick to remember. As he intended, for the next 2 years, the little girl never contacted him again. Ethan walked under the streetlight, expressionlessly facing Ryan. The other man clicked his tongue in amazement, so ruthless with the little girl. "Isn't she your girlfriend?" "Just someone who was clinging to me and wouldn't let go." Ethan didn't want to mention Zoe in front of him, asking coldly, "What do you want?" Ryan spread his hands. "Out of money, son. Give your dad some spending money. How much? 500,000. Ethan turned to leave. Are you insane? I don't have that much money. That little girl is devoted to you. Sell her and you'd have the money. Your dad has connections. Ryan cackled behind him. Or you come with me. My buddy's got a business that could use a college boy like you. Ethan knew clearly what kind of business it was. Nothing but trafficking or other illegal activities. But he still went. He didn't want Ryan to target Zoe. And he wanted to see if there might be a chance to completely get rid of him. For the next 6 months, Ethan lived a hellish existence. Working during the day, running around with Ryan at night. In those dark corners under the city's neon lights where no light reached, there were countless illegal gambling dens, trafficking operations, places where girls were imprisoned. He collected evidence, then reported to police, getting Ryan sent to prison. Before being taken away, Ryan struggled to turn his head, whispering, "Son." After the disgust passed, Ethan thought he was free. He wanted to go back and see Zoe, but when he opened his phone, he saw her new social media post. 2 movie tickets, with clearly a young man's hand showing in the corner. Ethan instantly lost all strength in his body. She was originally a smart and beautiful girl. There were definitely many people who liked her. How could he expect her to wait for him forever and ever? Ethan went to work in New York. Until he heard news of Zoe's mother's death. Then he rushed back. The eternal void in his soul seemed only fillable by her embrace. That night, he accompanied her celebrating her paper publication, and they both drank a little. Overcome by emotion, he kissed her. A very impulsive kiss that seemed so impolite without an established relationship. After taking Zoe back, he took out his phone and started typing a message. But after typing just, "I like you too," he heard that all too familiar raspy voice by his ear. "Son, after sending your dad to prison, you're living pretty well, aren't you?" Ryan was just a minor accomplice in the operation, hadn't handled core business, got a light sentence, and was already released. The first thing he did after getting out was find Ethan, who had personally sent him in. "Do you know what kind of life I lived in there? Meanwhile, you're out here sweet and cozy with some girl, betraying your old man, right? I know that little girl. We've been neighbors for years, haven't we? What's her name? Zoe Parker. A college student, too. Impressive. Give her a stage name like Zoe. Send her to your Aunt Ruby's place. She'd definitely fetch a good price, wouldn't she? 0. 6. Being stared at by his snake like cold gaze, Ethan suddenly felt despair. His life was like this because Ryan's blood flowed in his veins. He could never break free from their connection. Anyone who got close to him would inevitably be implicated. Ethan suddenly roared, lunged forward, and tackled Ryan to the ground, viciously punching him twice. After beating him, he gripped his shoulders and said word by word, "I'll come with you. Whatever money you want to make, I'll help you. Don't target her, or we'll die together." Ryan spat out blood. "Fine. Tomorrow afternoon, come with me. Don't bring your phone, don't try any tricks." Ethan went back to the old house once, putting his phone back in the desk drawer. He didn't take anything, just brought the hair tie that Zoe had bound around his wrist in sophomore year. Then he went to find her and said many things that even he couldn't bear to remember. The evening wind became countless sharp blades, cutting every inch of his skin. In hallucinations, he was bloody, but he couldn't reach out to her. Zoe wore a very pretty dress, her face carefully made up, probably thinking he was coming to confess. Ethan's heart ached to the point of death, but he still maintained an expressionless face. "Stop pestering me. I'm getting married." The moon in her eyes seemed to shatter instantly. Later, in that bleak winter, he voluntarily stepped forward to take the place of the undercover police officer in the secret operation. They stripped him naked, dragged him to the small courtyard, and slowly cut open his blood vessels to let him bleed out. Probably because his calm expression was too irritating, those people angrily took out syringes. Damn. A traitor still acting so arrogant. Perfect. New stuff from overseas that we haven't tested human limits with yet. Let's try it on him. They injected him with double the dose. In extreme agony, Ethan felt his life slowly draining away. The severe pain in his calves was probably from the 2 guard dogs in the courtyard, gnawing at his flesh and blood. But it didn't matter. This time was enough to sentence Ryan to death and take down the entire illegal operation. He had died for a worthy cause. He remembered in high school, Zoe had learned ancient poetry in Chinese class. When he rode his bike with her, she'd curl up in his arms, nodding as she recited, "I wish I were the star and you the moon, so every night our light would shine together. But you're already the star, so I'll have to settle for being the moon." On the night Ethan died, the sky was pitch black. No stars, no moon. The police contacted me then to claim his belongings. Though they couldn't really be called belongings. Just a hair tie, red and white, polka-dotted, already dirty and worn. My brother looked at my reddened eyes, suddenly understanding. "It was yours, wasn't it?" I nodded slowly. Scrunchies were popular then. There was a boutique shop in our small town that had the prettiest styles, but they sold out as soon as they arrived. The prices kept going up too. I couldn't get one and complained to Ethan about it. The next day, he bought one for me. Helped the shop owner move some inventory. She let me take one home. He handed me the soft polka-dotted scrunchie. "Take it. Children's Day gift." The scrunchie stayed in my hair for half a year until the elastic wore out and lost its stretch. On New Year's Eve, when Ethan and I went out to set off fireworks, I wound it around his wrist twice. New Year's gift. He looked down at it and smiled with crinkled eyes. Such a casual gift? "If you don't want it, forget it." "I want it. I'll take anything you give me." He said this while handing me a new sparkler. "Happy New Year, Zoe." I couldn't think about it anymore. I took deep breaths, trying to dispel the waves of stifling pain rising in my chest. Did you see Ethan? No. His body couldn't be preserved. After the extreme drug experiments, those people destroyed it. My brother's voice carried some choking as he spoke. He left nothing behind. I could only put that hair tie in his grave. He used the word destroyed. In that instant, countless images flashed through my mind. At 14, sitting on the front bar of an old bicycle, my protruding shoulder blades pressed against his warm chest. At 18, after the SATs, secretly touching his hand during our celebratory dinner. Later, at the college department office, when he stood in front of so many teachers, unreservedly protecting me, his arm touching mine. And that one and only kiss, so pure it was just lips touching, yet both our hearts beat impossibly fast. The last time we met, when he stood before me, his expression cold and contemptuous as he told me he was getting married. In all memories of Ethan Carter, regardless of whether my emotions were love or hate, at least his heart was still beating. He was alive. The blood in my body seemed to freeze instantly, then in the next second melt completely, boiling and rolling through every blood vessel, flowing endlessly. There were countless echoes from memory by my ears, so it took me a long time to slowly speak. "Why didn't you tell me back then?" Before he stepped forward to take the blame, his last words were not to let you know. Plus, you were struggling academically then and were already breaking down. If this news was added to the shock, I was afraid you'd do something desperate. My brother spoke softly, gripping my ice-cold hand. "Actually, at first I was quite angry that he wouldn't accept your confessions. It wasn't until I met his father that I realized he was protecting you by refusing you. People aren't saints. We can't perfectly control our words and actions." So he repeatedly softened, couldn't help being good to you, causing you to never completely give up hope. I was quite dissatisfied. but couldn't blame him either. Being born into that family was Ethan's misfortune, but fortunately, Ryan was executed by firing squad 4 years ago. Later, he said many, many more things. I never responded. There were too many memories of Ethan Carter, so many that no matter how I searched through the vast ocean of my mind, I could never reach the end. I just kept crying without stopping, as if it would never end. Finally, even my brother couldn't squeeze out any more comforting words. He just sat across from me, quietly keeping me company, watching the sky gradually brighten outside the window. I said hoarsely, "Go back. Your wife and Emma should be waking up." He looked at me with worried eyes, "But I'm worried about you, Zoe. Don't do anything drastic." I shook my head. "It's fine. Haven't I gotten through all these years alone? I won't do anything drastic." Ethan wouldn't want to see me seeking death either. My brother sighed softly, then after a moment, hesitantly asked, "Do you want to go see him?" Ethan Carter's headstone stood in the cemetery of the neighboring town. So all these years, he had never been far from me. I just didn't know. Just like before, my countless confessions, my willfulness and pride were just relying on the deep feelings he couldn't speak aloud. In places I couldn't see, he had given his heart first and persisted unwaveringly for so many years. I spent a long time preparing myself mentally before deciding to see him. Then I bought a bouquet of white roses at the flower shop outside the cemetery. He had refused my flowers at graduation no matter what. Now, he didn't even have the right to refuse. The weather was beautiful. I climbed the stone steps step by step, finally seeing the black and white photo on the headstone. It was actually that photo I had taken with my new phone when he was 18. I placed the white rose bouquet in front of the headstone and sat down. The ground was already warmed by the sun. Unless absolutely necessary, Ethan always couldn't bear for me to suffer even a little grievance. In life and in death, it was the same. I don't know if you actually like white roses or not, but even if you don't, you can't refuse me a second time. Ethan Carter. I spoke softly. Actually, I guessed it. Your name came from your mother, didn't it? I kept waiting for you to tell me yourself, but apparently I'll never hear it now. That was okay too. 100 years from now, when we meet in the afterlife, you can tell me then about any unspoken words, what else you wanted to say after that unsent text. I'd already persisted for so many years. Persisting until that day would be easy too. I was never liked by my parents. No matter how good my brother was to me, I always harbored resentment. I spread my hands. You see, I really am such an awful person. I can't repay kindness with kindness, can't use magnanimity to forgive such unfair treatment. Everyone advised me, saying at least they didn't abuse me and provided for my schooling and basic needs. Being so petty made me seem ungracious. But you never thought of me that way. From age 14 on, everything I didn't get from my parents, you made up for. Even though you never agreed to be with me, how could I believe you didn't like me? But now, it's better. I've matured a lot and don't lose my temper randomly anymore. There are some difficult students at school worse than I ever was, but I only reason with them gently. The department has already submitted the list. Barring any surprises, I'll be promoted to associate professor next year. Colleagues all say I'm very capable at work with a good personality. They're even trying to set me up on blind dates. But the marriages they describe that need careful management and mutual compromise seem so boring to me. I'm not looking forward to them at all, so I've refused them all. I sat until my legs went numb, silently adjusting my position. Then I reached out, my fingertip lightly tracing over the photo on the headstone. The cold, hard sensation, was this what Ethan felt in his final moments before death? I remembered on my 20th birthday, when my brother and Ethan hadn't completely fallen out yet. My brother was away at a competition, so Ethan came with a cake to celebrate with me. I made a wish over the candles then, wanting to go to Northern Europe to see the aurora and stars. Then I asked Ethan without any reserve, "Do you want to come with me?" He smiled and said, "Whatever the birthday girl wants." You knew then that we'd never make it there, didn't you? 6. I blinked away tears from my eyes, saying softly, "It doesn't matter. I'll have a chance to go see it for you someday." After leaving the cemetery, my brother called asking where I was. "Your sister-in-law's been in a good mood lately. She made some beef sauce and wants me to send you some." I said quietly, "I'm back home." He was silent for a moment. "You went to see Ethan?" "Yes." "Do you want me to come back and keep you company, Zoe?" "No need." I rubbed my eyes. "It's fine. The old house is already being demolished. I'll just have some dumplings and head home." After hanging up, it was already evening with lights beginning to glow. The small town had developed rapidly these past few years, with high-rises and shopping centers everywhere. It was far from the backward place it was 15 years ago. I searched for a long time following my memory, but couldn't find the bookstore, the little boutique, or the dumpling stand where Ethan and I had eaten so many times. Finally, I sat down at a chain franchise restaurant and ordered spicy wontons. After just a few bites, they were so spicy my nose started sweating. There weren't many customers. The owner sat nearby and started chatting with me. "Oh, you mean that dumpling stand?" That was my dad. He was retired but restless, so he went out to set up that cart. He lit a cigarette, looking somewhat distant, but winter before last, he didn't make it through. He passed away. I gripped the spoon tighter without making a sound. "I'm sorry for your loss." "It's okay. It's been 2 years. I've moved on. Besides, everyone has to die eventually. In 20 or 30 years, it'll be my turn, and I don't know if my daughter will want to take over this shop." He exhaled pale white smoke, slowly saying, "This place has changed so much over the years. I used to tell him to stop running that cart, but he wouldn't listen. Said his cooking was good and the old neighbors loved it. Something about years ago, there was this young couple, students, who always came to his stand. The boy would secretly slip him money every month, asking him to give the girl an extra ladle of filling whenever she came for dumplings. I always mocked him for being conceited, but had to admit his cooking really was good. I can't make it the same way. Such a shame. It can never go back." I sat frozen at the table, unable to hear the rest, until the owner asked in panic, "Hey, miss, why are you crying? Are the wontons too spicy?" That shouldn't be right. I adjusted the chili ratio. I pulled out several tissues, covering my face in embarrassment, shaking my head that it was nothing. Coming out of the restaurant, I went back to the old house one more time. It was mostly demolished, with only remaining bricks and boards scattered on the ground. You couldn't tell which house was which anymore. I sat among the rubble with a beer can, toasting the stars, dotting the velvet night sky from afar. "You liked me so early, you lying hypocrite." I drank while pretending not to notice my red-rimmed eyes and endless tears. "Next time we meet, remember to make your lies more beautiful." As drunkenness set in, I seemed to return to 15 years ago. 14-year-old me and Ethan hunched over a low table, shrimp and seaweed in bone broth, scalding meat filling ladled over the dumplings, hot steam obscuring everything. That's why I never clearly saw the way he always looked at me. Later, for the rest of my life's decades, I never again encountered such a dumpling stand. Never again saw, in violent wind and rain, that one and only star. The end.